So Echo is the newest Marvel show, and I honestly didn't know what to expect from it. To be honest, I thought it looked kind of interesting. The trailers portrayed a grounded and gritty action story about Echo's journey through the criminal underworld and her ties to Wilson Fisk. But unfortunately, that couldn't be further from the truth. Aside from the manipulative narrative shaped from the trailer, the show perfectly encapsulates all of the flaws with current-day Marvel. Ruining beloved characters, cheap knockoffs of old successes, nonsensical storylines, horribly bland endings, and tons of wasted potential.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Marvel didn't try to hide the fact that even they didn't want this show to exist. They literally had no faith in it and were so desperate to make back their money, they had to release all episodes on one day on 2 streaming platforms because they knew 0 people would have watched it otherwise. And those who eventually did watch it were met with meh. Echo begins the show right off the bat with deep ties to mythological Native American culture, and later on would be used to explain Maya Lopez's alias, Echo. While I don't think the change from the comic books was necessary in the first place, I can appreciate the attempt at creativity here. The echoes of her ancestors are cool in theory, but I think the execution was poor, especially with this character. Maya's mythological powers feel poorly shoehorned in, probably because the writers just wanted her to have powers for no reason. The drastic change really ruins the dark and gritty tone of the show as well. The show couldn't decide its tone, often going back and forth, not knowing what it wanted to be. And I got severe whiplash when the mystical ancestor scenes were included, and then followed up by grounded action sequences. Action sequences that in itself were painfully slow and clunky to watch. During most of the fight scenes, you could see Maya struggling to keep up. She's not very convincing as a trained assassin. However, I did enjoy the long shot fight included in the first episode. By far, it was the best choreographed action scene and coolest part of the whole show. Probably because Daredevil is in it.
That's why he's the GOAT!
Which makes sense given that this show is a wannabe cheap knockoff of Netflix's Daredevil, muddled by Disney's interesting flair. But where Daredevil worked, Echo failed in its story and characters. Maya Lopez is not a likable protagonist. She constantly manipulates the supporting cast and faces no consequences for any of her actions. She has a flat emotional range with almost every scene having the same blank expression, and when she does emote, it's a little underwhelming. She also treats every character with no respect at all. You see Daredevil work because you felt empathy not just for the side characters, but for Matt Murdock. He actually feels remorse when his actions have consequences and even tries to distance himself from friends and family. Maya also gets away with literally everything, from blowing up shipments to endangering the lives of her family. And all the characters, including Wilson Fisk, come crawling back to her like she's a queen. Wilson Fisk, as in the ruthless kingpin who spares no empathy to anyone but Vanessa, pines for Maya Lopez's attention. This beloved character was completely ruined from his original show. How does he get shot in the face and still want to have a relationship with this person? And how does he not die from getting shot point blank? How is he so emotionally connected to Maya to the point that it cripples all logic and reasoning he used to have in normal situations? I also find it hard to believe that he never took the time to learn ASL, when he learned Mandarin and Japanese in secret just to know what his business associates were saying. So why would he not learn ASL for someone he genuinely sees as a daughter? He's so much smarter than that, but the show completely minimizes his character, trying to take what worked from Daredevil, but failing so hard. He's now such a big crybaby and so pathetically weak to the point that Maya literally goes inside his mind and uses the power of friendship to girl boss all over the place and tell him to do better.
Fuck.
I was dumbfounded at how intellectually inept Fisk was, and think the future direction of his story is quite odd. And in general, the story was all over the place, with Maya's journey to discovering her powers feeling so rushed, and side plots missing depth that should have been there, which were probably cut somewhere along production. A lot of the side characters were underutilized or borderline pointless, and pretty much just used to hype up Maya as a character. Henry was probably the best out of the bunch, but definitely forgotten until the end just to eyeball a pistol shot at someone from an impossibly long distance. And Biscuits was so random in context with the rest of the show. He's a weird goofball and acts like a 12-year-old when murdering people with a monster truck that shows up out of nowhere. And the grandma was also super weird. She's a mastermind within the family where she has to know everything and control everyone. I don't know why, but it's getting more common in movies to villainize grandmas, to the point where they have so much influence over their entire family. Now this could come from a misunderstanding of different cultures on my behalf, or perhaps even the writers, but speaking as a Latino, grandmas having this much power over their families is nonsensical and over-exaggerated. And when Maya used the power of friendship to help her family fight Fisk's men, It was unintentionally funny seeing the grandma overpower these huge grown dudes. But despite the flaws with the show, I did appreciate the visuals and enjoyed the creativity of different scenes. The ASL aspect was interesting to watch, and I think that's a redeeming quality about the show. However, it could have been better as the rest of the show. It had the potential to be so much more. The writers either got ahead of themselves, neglecting the truly important story beats and relationships, or maybe the show was doomed from the start. Dear viewer, I know it's common to hate on Marvel nowadays, but I really do love this franchise despite all my qualms with the recent projects. I hold shows like Echo to a high standard because previous work like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 proved it is possible to make captivating stories based on characters we may not care about. Maybe Marvel Studios needs to be more like Echo, in the sense that they should look to the past to see what truly worked. Sometimes the answer is right in front of them, and in this case, it's clear as day. Good storytelling is echoing throughout the old movies, but as time went on, that echo faded away into nothingness. Thankfully though, there just needs to be one good project to possibly reignite that echo again.